Well, I think first of all, I I think people have it twisted if they think I'm a guilter. I'm a truther, so like I follow um, the documents. I follow just the paper trail.
Yeah.
I'll dig into something that looks like it's off, or if there's more to meat on the bone or whatever. But I mean, do I think that shit's absolutely haywire in this case? Absolutely. Do I think
Yeah.
that it's the story that they're telling us? No. But there's a difference for me when somebody doesn't have an attorney and they get hosed early on when you'd be like brought in by the police and you like don't have an attorney, and so you're like being subjected to possibly false confessions, things like that. Whereas like with this situation, that wasn't the case, and so he was basically advised by Ann Taylor and the team to say, "Hey, you should take this plea deal." And so I'm curious on, you know, it's like I don't know the rules with Idaho, and as far as anybody that could be a lawyer that's a public defender lawyer, but that's also state qualified for like the death penalty. And I'm just curious if they have taken a different oath where I mean, if someone's going to present you with, here, you can save your client's life, is there something that's like morally and ethically that you're obligated to do and say? So I'm just curious of that. I don't know. And no one's asked that question. So I'm just curious of that question.
So, based on everything, because I think since all the documents have come out in the aftermath of the plea, that's where things have really turned. How can I say? More. There's more things to
More
question.
questions. Absolutely. I think there's way more questions. I think actually it shows that it wasn't just Brian's rights that were violated. I believe that there's a lot to question with Jack Showalter and them getting into his apartment. I would love to ask Jack Showalter if he ever called the um, the maintenance people to say, "Hey, I'm not going to be there for like weeks, but we go check on my water." Like I just don't like literally the day after they were told if there's not a blood outside that door and it doesn't test positive for being blood, you're not getting a search warrant to go into that apartment. And then boom, maintenance guys are just calling up, the police department saying, "Oh, hey, we had a working order here and we just found a couple spots of blood." And I mean, come on, man, that's insanity.
Yeah.
That's crazy to believe that. Um,
And I've got to
so
ask you this. This is a question that I've got. What's bugging me, right? And that is Cy. Like I've been a supporter of Cy. I'll carry on
absolutely.
supporting him until he comes out and speaks because he hasn't spoke. What do
Mhm.
you think's going on there? What do you think from what we heard him say and where we are now? What do you think happened?
Well, Cyril told me that he was going to come on the channel and he would speak.
Yeah,
So I'm confident that he told me that and that he will do that. I don't think that there's any reason to say that he won't. He hasn't said that he wouldn't. In fact, they're waiting for like his report and the report that he was basically up against. That's all under seal.
yeah,
So I know for me, I wanted to be able to, if we can get our hands on that and to show that and have him talk about that. Why would I not want to do that? But I don't think he was lying. I think that he was being 100 with everything that he said. I think that the bigger issue is the fact that they never had probable cause to arrest and get Brian's DNA. But I think the FBI lied, and I think people knew about it. They all worked together, and I think I think he could prove that Nick Balance was a liar, and so I think that would bring into question a lot of the cast reporting in other cases. It would be problematic for other cases that have relied upon someone like Nick Balance, and so yeah,
do you trust Ann Taylor?
yeah,
You
Yes, I
trust
don't
her?
think that she's like. I don't think that she's part of the like the prosecution or like that she's part of the old good old boys. I think. I think things were cooking in Latah County, and then they got to Ada, and it didn't matter if it was going to be Ann Taylor. It didn't matter, in my opinion, who was going to be the quarterbacking Brian's defense. Hitler was going to make those calls
Yeah. Because
with that.
I've always kind of side-eyed Ann Taylor. I have kind of looked at it because ultimately she is a state-appointed attorney, and
Well,
ultimately
she's in
she,
private practice now, so I mean, she
yeah,
she transferred in private practice. I think during the middle of this. I think in 2024.
20, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't, it was, you see, it's just since all the new documentation comes out, like we've been questioning stuff since right back at the beginning. We've always
Mhm.
looked at the PCA and questioned it. We know that the likelihood was they didn't have probable cause. It looks
Mhm.
like, even from the optics of it now, it's almost like Bill Thompson is shocked that it's got to where it is now. Like he's almost like, we
I
didn't
think that's
really have
actually
anything.
yeah.
It-
I They didn't, and I mean, it was going to go as far as the touch DNA on the sheath would take you. But I think like the Karen Reed case, when they point out a bunch of things, that's like saying, uh, Karen Reed's taillight was on the lawn of the McAlberts. Okay, so you either believe that that was planted, right, or if you're going to acquit her, then you have to say that that was planted. Otherwise, you can't acquit her. At the end of the day,
yeah,
sorry, but so in this case, it's like I think there was more actual evidence against Karen Reed that was obviously, in my opinion, planted or like got some type of way that is crap. But then you look at this case and like
there's,
she had a connection to the guy that died. That was her boyfriend, and she was there.
yeah,
And where you get this case, and it's like there's just IGG is supposed to, yeah, be a lead, and then oh my god, from this, then oh my gosh, yeah, he was hanging out with the victims, or like there's supposed to be things that back up the lead,
yeah,
and that's what I talked to Gabriel Vargas about, and there's a reason that IGG was it's supposed to be the last thing that you do when all of your other investigative tools and methods are exhausted, and then you go to that. And I think this case is trying to make it so that this is a tool that IGG is used right off the rip. And the
yeah,
thing that should worry people, though, in my opinion, is well, then why didn't they put it in the probable cause affidavit? If it's so good and it's so reliable and it's so all these things and everything was done on the up and up, why didn't you put it in the probable cause affidavit? Like that's and nobody wants to answer that question, and
yeah,
everyone wants to beat around it, and it's like everybody's saying the same thing though. They got to Brian Culver because of the IgG, so your probable cause is exactly what we said it was. That's not how you got to him,
yeah,
and therefore that falls apart.
yeah.
But I don't want to see a killer go free, but also I'm of the opinion of, hey, does the ends justify the means? And I'm of the opinion that it does not. Our rights, I'm a constitutionalist, so our rights like are paramount, and I'd
And
rather
yeah, and
see.
that's exactly where I am with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You need to be able to trust the system, and when the system starts to be
100.
able to be manipulated, then that's where it goes apart, and the ends doesn't justify the means. And I think
Exactly.
you do have to. It does get to the point with Brian Koberger, and this is why I asked if you trusted Ann Taylor, because the case, when you questioned the case prior to Brian Koberger's plea, all the questions that we have now, even the people who didn't agree with us, they were like, "You're going to find there's going to be loads of information that comes out.
Yeah,
You're ignoring it. It's going to go to trial. This is going to come out. That is going to come out." We then get to the plea hearing, and Bill Thompson basically recites the shit that we already knew. And then
yeah,
you're still saying, "Well, hold on a second. He was given the opportunity at that point to say anything that he had. He couldn't. He had no more." but people still pushed and said there's going to be so much more, there's going to be so much more. And now we're where we are now, and the new documentation raises even more questions.
Yeah.
So I still look at it like this. If Brian Koberg was 100% innocent of this crime, right, why would he have taken a plea deal when in reality this very likely would have gone to a hung jury if you could have seated an impartial jury? Was the fear that it was just impossible to seat an impartial jury? And is that what Ann Taylor's advice would have been to Brian? Because from where I'm sitting, if Ann Taylor is as tenacious as they say she is, and she had so much faith in Brian Koberger's innocence, and she had so much faith and confidence in what she knew, then why the fuck would she ever get him to take the deal that he did?
Yeah, I also think that even let's say that he's guilty, why the fuck out? Why would you take a plea deal if you're looking at that type of a case that you could beat it?
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah,
So, like for me, it's whether you hypothesize that okay, in the mind of Brian Kober, if he's guilty or he had something to do with it. I mean, like, as I'm of the opinion that I think that this was, you know, the one person cleanup job, multiple weapons, time frame. That's iffy for me. But regardless if you think or in his brain if he's innocent or if he's guilty, usually somebody that is even guilty is like, no, I'm going to trial, like, blah blah blah, I can still beat this. Or so to see that he made the decision that he made, i i think I think there's going to be something to come. And and I think it would be in a way, what reminded me of last night and made me think about it was when Nye said that in Idaho, this is a first impression. Okay. So if this was in first impression in Idaho, is there something that could happen here that hey, once a little bit of information becomes more available, or it's not of first impression here in Idaho anymore, does Brian Kober stand a chance that, hey, we see X, Y, and Z happening, and so therefore that's going to be your opportunity. So I, but I think that would be going. I would go to the higher courts.
yeah.